The story unfolds in 18th century Australia, a time when life was harsh and hope was often the only companion for those struggling to survive. Amidst this rugged landscape, a young girl gently tried to soothe a crying child. Her soft words and tender touch barely calmed the small one's sobs before a distant voice called her away. Reluctantly, she left, leaving the child behind. From afar, a mysterious woman who had been quietly watching stepped forward. She lifted the child into her arms, cradling him with surprising gentleness. Without warning, as if seized by an uncontrollable force, the woman carried the child to a nearby waterfall. And then, in an act that stunned all reason, she hurled the child down the cascading waters. The child's fragile body disappeared into the roaring abyss below, leaving behind a chilling silence. Consumed by guilt and desperation, the woman rushed to the church. Kneeling before the altar, she confessed her terrible crime, her voice trembling with regret. Word soon spread of her punishment death, brutal and unforgiving. In the shadow depths of the forest, her bound body was found slumped in a chair, her severed head locked inside a cage. A stranger arrived quietly at the grim scene, severed one of the woman's fingers, and carefully wrapped it in cloth, an eerie token carried into the unfolding tale. Amidst this dark backdrop lived August, a young and poor farmer's daughter. 17 years old, she was the epitome of youthful hope and innocence. On the day of her wedding, her heart fluttered with happiness and anticipation. With her brother and mother, she embarked on a journey to another village, traveling by a goods train, carrying with them their humble belongings and dreams for her future. When they arrived, the village buzzed with excitement and preparations for the wedding. Wolf's mother greeted her with a solemn ceremony. She placed a sacred eye pin on Agnes's head and handed her a childlike doll. This symbolic gesture was not merely tradition. It was a profound message that August's new role was not only to be a dutiful wife, but also to nurture and raise a child one day, embracing both responsibilities with love and care. The wedding proceeded with vibrant festivities, music, dance, and laughter echoing late into the day. Yet, amidst the jubilation, Wolf pulled Agus aside. "Come with me," he said softly, a mysterious smile playing on his lips. Blindfolding her, he led her to a house she had never seen. Meanwhile, outside the house, the villagers continued their celebrations into the evening, their laughter growing louder with every drink. Wolf, too, was drunk, talking and joking with his friends, seemingly carefree. As the night wore on, Agus's family prepared to leave. Her brother handed her a small, carefully wrapped gift. When Agus unwrapped it, she gasped a severed finger, the same one taken from the woman condemned to death. Her brother smiled gently. "This is a charm, a key to your luck. With it, you will live well with your husband, and soon you will receive the blessing of a child." Agus clutched the finger, her heart swelling with hope and affection. Back in her new home, Agus kissed the severed finger reverently and placed it carefully beneath her bed. With a whispered prayer, she begged God to grant her the strength to be a good wife and to bless her with children. But as night fell, Wolf returned stumbling, reeking of alcohol. Agnes gathered her courage to approach him lovingly, but he scolded her sharply and ordered her to go to bed. He then turned away and fell asleep without a word. The following morning, Agnes awoke to find Wolf gone. She searched the house and the stable, but found no trace of him. Restless and worried, she ventured into the forest, wandering until her eyes caught a strange sight, a scrap of paper pinned to a tree, marked with peculiar signs. The symbols reminded her of the woman who had thrown her child from the waterfall, who had since died. Deeper into the forest, Agnes stumbled upon a grim sight. The woman's dead body still bound to a chair, her severed head locked in a cage beside her. A cold chill gripped Agnes's heart. Further along the path, she found Wolf fishing quietly at the pond with his mother and the villagers. Wolf's mother called out to Agnes brusquely, "Come, girl, it's time to work." Though eager to please, Agnes struggled. The labor was new to her, hard and unfamiliar. As she wrestled with the chores, the solemn church bells rang, pulling her into prayer. She sank to her knees, seeking strength in her faith. Wolf's mother's patience snapped. Enough praying! Will you spend all your time in worship? There is work to be done. That afternoon, Agnes and Wolf's mother distributed bread among the workers. Each was given a single piece. A hungry man pleaded for two, and Agnes's heart softened. She slipped him an extra piece. Wolf's mother noticed immediately, snatching back the bread. Be patient and eat what you are given. Don't make a fuss. Agnes was taken aback, hurt by the harsh rebuke. Later, Wolf himself showed her the way home by a path beside the pond. He warned her, from now on, dress appropriately for work. Returning home, Agnes tried to immerse herself in the tasks at hand, though the weight of her new life pressed heavily on her. That evening, as darkness gently wraps the village in silence, Agnes quietly retrieves the severed finger she had hidden. Sitting on the bed, she kisses it again and again, each kiss an unspoken plea to fate. Then, with trembling hands and silent hope, she places it beneath the bed, believing perhaps this devotion will earn her husband's love and maybe, just maybe, a child. The next morning, she finds her way to the village church. Inside, she kneels before a statue of Jesus holding a child. Her eyes fill with tears. Later that day, Agnes goes to the pond with Wolf's mother to wash clothes. A woman, visibly pregnant and glowing with maternal warmth, approaches. She's also a worker from Wolf's household. Kindness radiates from her, and soon, a friendship begins to bloom. Together, they wander into the forest to rest. As the forest hums with birdsong, both women drift off to sleep under the soft rustling of leaves. But when Agnes opens her eyes, she realizes with a start that she's been asleep far too long and the pregnant woman has already gone. Panicked, she hurries back home. Inside, Wolf's mother is busy preparing food. Hoping to help, Agnes offers assistance, but Wolf's mother turns to her with a face of stone and snaps. Where were you all this time? I went to church, Agnes softly replies. That evening, Agnes timidly asks Wolf, will your mother come here every day? I don't know, he answers without emotion. Does she hate me? Wolf sighs. It's not that. She's just strict. Anger runs in our blood. But again that night, he turns his back to her. No warmth, no words, just silence. Agnes lays beside him, her heart heavier than ever. What can I do to make him want me? The next morning, she walks quietly to the old room behind the house, a place she had made her little temple. She kneels and prays again, tears falling freely. Just then, a butterfly floats in and gently lands on her face. Agnes gasps. It feels like a divine sign. A spark of hope ignites in her chest. With a newfound determination, she sets out early to the pond. She wants to catch fish before anyone else arrives to prove she's a worthy wife. But fate plays another cruel trick. She catches nothing. Instead, she gets trapped in thick mud, sinking, struggling, helpless. Moments later, Wolf arrives with his workers. His eyes widen in alarm. You shouldn't be here. This mud is dangerous. People have drowned in it. That night, a sudden knock disturbs the stillness. Someone arrives with grim news. Something terrible has happened to Wolf's friend. Wolf rushes out. Meanwhile, Agnes hears a woman's distant scream, a sound so haunting it freezes her blood. She picks up a lantern and walks toward the noise. She arrives at a neighbor's house to find a silent crowd gathered. Murmurs fill the air. A man's lifeless body hangs inside. Wolf's friend has taken his own life. His mother weeps uncontrollably, begging them not to take her son away, but her pleas fall on deaf ears. They load his corpse into a cart and haul him away like waste. Shaken, Agnes returns home and prays, asking God to protect her from all evil. The next day at church, the priest declares the suicide a grave sin. He reminds everyone that long ago, the woman who threw her child into the waterfall, the very one from the beginning, was his own daughter. After church, Agnes walks past the village's garbage heap. Her eyes fall on something horrific. The body of Wolf's friend, discarded like trash beside other criminals' corpses. She covers her mouth, horrified. That day, while working in the fields, Agnes feels a sudden pain, a sharp reminder of her unfulfilled desire for motherhood. She collapses, crying out in despair. Humiliated and heartbroken, Agnes walks home alone. Along the way, she lashes out at herself with thorny branches, scraping her arms in frustration. But even that pain isn't enough. She goes further, taking a sharp branch. She scratches her own tongue until it bleeds. The sight is ghastly, a silent scream of anguish. That night, when she doesn't return, Wolf's mother complains, "See, your wife is useless. She doesn't come home on time, doesn't cook, doesn't serve you, and she's not even bearing children. What's the point?" Wolf calmly responds, "Give her more time, she'll manage." Unbeknownst to them, Agnes stands outside, hearing every word. Tears flood her eyes. How can I tell her the truth? She thinks. That is not my fault, but instead of returning home, she walks back to the lifeless woman's body and sings to her softly. The dead do not judge, they simply listen. At dawn, Agnes quietly slips away, but instead of going to Wolf's house, she walks to her old home. Peering through the window, she sees her mother and brother peacefully having breakfast. Sometime later, her brother finds her asleep in the stable. Her mother arrives, startled. "I can't live in that house anymore," Agnes whispers. "I'm afraid there." Her mother gently replies, "That house is your home now. I can't keep you here, but if you ever need me, I'll come." Agnes nods silently and steps outside alone again. With nowhere to belong, no one to hold her, and hope dimming like a candle in the wind. That afternoon, Wolf arrived at Agnes's maternal home. With a stern face and rigid posture, he told her to return with him. Frustrated by her defiance, Wolf forcibly picked her up with the help of her brother and dragged her back to his house. Once there, Agnes refused to do any of the household chores. Her silence screamed louder than words. It was as if something inside her had died. Her mother-in-law, exasperated by what she saw as stubbornness, finally snapped. "Girl, stop this drama and pull yourself together," she scolded. But Agnes, whose soul was withering from within, remained unbothered and silent. Her mother-in-law, seeing no improvement, decided to take her to the doctor. She began changing Agnes's clothes, preparing her for the visit, but then, in a sudden fit of anger, Agnes snatched the clothes from her and dressed herself. She went alone for the checkup, and on the way back, something unexpected happened. Walking along the path, she saw a small, unfamiliar child. The child stood there, lost and innocent. She brought the boy home, holding on to hope like a lifeline. But her moment of solace was short-lived. Wolf's mother was furious. "Put this child back where you found him. His parents must be searching for him," she shouted. Agnes, helpless and heartbroken, had no choice but to obey. With a heavy heart, she returned the child, praying silently that his parents would find him soon. Night fell, and Wolf, oblivious to his wife's turmoil, was out drinking and laughing with the village men. Inside, Agnes lay motionless on the bed, swallowed by depression. Slowly, she reached into her hidden place and retrieved something horrifying, the same cut-off finger from before. She licked the dried blood from it and began praying intensely. As her eyes fluttered shut, a dream took hold of her. She saw herself digging through the soil, and then she found her own lifeless body buried in the earth. A chilling realization struck her. She had died. She was already buried. Suddenly, she jolted awake, breathless. Before her stood Wolf, his hands around her throat. He was at his breaking point, overwhelmed and desperate, unsure of what to do with Agnes anymore. But after a long pause, he released her and walked away, trying to calm himself. Hours later, he returned, still disturbed by what he had seen. Seeing Agnes in such a frail and fractured state, Wolf finally considered taking her back to the doctor. But Agnes stopped him. "My time has come," she whispered. "Just call the priest. I need to confess my sins before I leave this world." Later, Wolf's mother came into the room. Seeing Agnes alive, but visibly frail and drained, she softened. She helped her get dressed. Wolf gently lifted Agnes in his arms and carried her to her mother's home. Standing at the door, he told his mother-in-law she ate rat poison. I truly believe something dark has taken over her. I think she's possessed. It's better for her to stay here, where she might find peace. And with that, he left. The next morning, Agnes was visibly better. She cleaned her room, got dressed, and after saying her goodbyes, quietly left the house. Her destination was the forest, the very same place where she had once sought solitude. There, she saw a group of children playing among the trees. She approached one of them and asked, "Can you show me where the shrine is? I'll give you some money." The boy agreed. They walked together, and upon reaching the shrine, Agnes asked him to pray with her. The child nodded, and they both stepped inside and began praying. But then, in a shocking turn of events, Agnes suddenly pulled out a knife and stabbed the boy in the neck. He collapsed, wounded, terrified, and crying for mercy. "Please, don't kill me." But she did. She stabbed him again and again until the life drained from his body. Looking at the small corpse, she murmured, "Now you will never commit a crime. You were a child. May you become an angel in God's eyes." Then she walked away to the church. The next morning, she requested to meet the priest. That night, she cut off her hair as a sign of repentance. The following day, she sat before the priest and began her confession. "I couldn't make my husband happy," she began, her voice shaking. "I had evil thoughts about my mother-in-law. I couldn't take care of the animals in the stable." The priest sat in silence for a long while. Then, gently, he said, "God has forgiven you." At those words, something lifted within her. She laughed and cried all at once, overwhelmed by a sense of liberation she hadn't felt in years. But the story didn't end there. The next day, the villagers nailed drawings of Agnes's sins to the trees, as they had done in the past. She was wrapped in animal skin, paraded through the village in a cart, and finally brought to the site of her execution. They placed her on a chair and covered her face with a mask. Among the crowd was Wolf, now grief-stricken, tears streaming down his face. Agnes began to sing softly a slow, haunting hymn, as if making her final peace with the world. And then the executioner struck. Her head was severed cleanly. The mood in the crowd instantly changed. They began collecting her blood in the bucket and sold it in cups and glasses, each one paying for a taste. They believed that her repentance had been heard, her prayers accepted, that her blood was now sacred, holy, and would bring them happiness, blessings, and good fortune. Music played, people danced, glasses clinked. As Agnes's severed head hung from a tree branch above them, the villagers celebrated. And with the final chapter of Agnes's story, the film came to its dark and unsettling end. Thank you for watching.